Hello everyone, dear students. Now we are starting with our new lecture series of a chapter that is Anatomy of Flowering Plant. Anatomy of Flowering Plants. In this chapter, we are going to discuss about some of the modifications, some of the morphological modifications also we will do, but mainly we will talk about tissue and their types. Okay, then anatomy and function of different parts of angiosperm like root, stem, leaf. Okay, then in tissue also we remember we will be talking about meristematic tissue and permanent tissue. Okay, then we will talk about tissue systems and their arrangements. Okay, that's we have discussed anatomy of these different parts. Then at last we will deal with the secondary growth. Okay, that is in case of dicot stem and dicot root. Okay, this is all we are going to study in this chapter. So let's start with our first topic, that is tissues. Now if we try to understand tissues term is coined by first Grew. It is term this coined by Grew. So first, by hearing this term, we ask ourselves that what is this tissue? So tissue is nothing but it is a group of similar or dissimilar cells that have common function and have common origin, that is called as tissue. So they are nothing but a group of similar or dissimilar cells having a common function. They perform same function and might be they have a same particularly origin, then they form a tissues. Now when we classify them, first we classify tissue into the two main groups, that is meristematic tissue and permanent tissue. Meristematic tissue and permanent tissue. So meristematic tissue are what? Meristematic tissue are those cells, those tissue whose cells have power of division or they are capable of division are known as meristematic tissue. And permanent tissue is a group of those cells, that is its cells do not divide. So this divided based on whether they are capable of dividing or not. So first we will discuss this meristematic tissue in detail, then we will talk about this permanent tissue in detail. So first we are starting with the characteristic of meristematic tissue and this type of meristematic tissue. So first we talk about meristematic tissue. Okay. Now this meristematic tissue consists of cells. They consist of cells that retain power of division. Now when we see this meristematic means the cells of meristematic tissue will be considered as meristematic cells. Now when we see these cells, the protoplasm within cell is dense. Protoplasm of cell is dense. It is a dense protoplasm. Okay. In their protoplasm, you will find vacuole is smaller or absent. Then meristematic cells are isodiametric, means the diameter of every cell is approximately similar, and without intercellular spaces. Without intercellular spaces means intercellular spaces are absent. Next, nucleus is bigger in size, means large sized nucleus they have. Next, they have a thin cellulosic cell wall. They have a thin cellulosic cell wall. Then they are metabolically active cell. They are metabolically active cells. They have high surface area to volume ratio. High surface area to volume ratio. Ergastric substances are absent. Actually, ergastric substances means secretory substances, and secretion is actually performed by permanent tissue, not a meristematic tissue. So ergastric substances are released by non-dividing cells. Okay. So because of this, we can say that ergastric substances are absent in case of meristematic tissue. And the last, colorless proplastids are present in colorless proplastids are present. So when we see their cells, in their cells, colorless proplastids are present, that which are going to form a plastid. So these are some of the characteristics of meristematic tissue. By studying these, we come to know that they have a cellulosic cell wall, nucleus is bigger, protoplasm is dense, they are isodiametric, without intercellular spaces, vacuole is smaller or absent, they are metabolically active, and ergastric substances are absent, but still they has a power of division. They have a power of division. But when we see the another type of cells, another type of tissues, that is a permanent tissue, they lost their capacity of division. But now we are talking about meristematic tissue. First we will consider this meristematic tissue in detail, then we will talk about the permanent tissue. So now this is the meristematic tissue. Now we come to the term that is meristem. So there is a difference between meristematic tissue and meristem. Meristem is the region where meristematic tissue are located. It is the region where meristematic tissue are located. So now we are going to classify this particularly meristems. So classification of meristem now we are going to discuss. Okay. So next we talk about classification of meristem. Now these meristem are classified on the different bases. First we are talking about classification of meristem on the basis of origin and development. Based on origin and development. Based on origin and development, they are classified. Now they are classified into three types. First is promeristem. First is promeristem, or we can call it as a primordial meristem. Next we are talking about primary meristem. And third we are talking about a secondary meristem. Okay, so we will deal with this in particular part. So on the basis of origin and development, there are three types of tissues, that is a promeristem, primary meristem and secondary meristem. So we should understand all this. So first we talk about a promeristem. So promeristem nothing, or primordial meristem are nothing but they are the few cells found at or present at apices or apex of shoot and root. They are present at apex of root and shoot, and they give rise to primary meristem. Means this primary meristem is going to derive from the promeristem. Okay, so now you have understood that promeristem are the meristem which are present at a shoot apex, a root apex, and give rise to primary meristem. Now when we talk about a primary meristem, this primary meristem obviously originate from promeristem or derived from promeristem, as we have said now just. Okay, now they are found below promeristem, first located or found below promeristem, and they give rise to, they are also first where they are present, so they are found below the promeristem at shoot and root apex. Okay, then they are also found at the apex of root, apex of leaves and intercalary parts. They are also found at intercalary parts. We will discuss what is this intercalary parts. But the important thing is that this primary meristem give rise to primary permanent tissue, that are primary permanent tissue are formed from this, that is a primary meristem. Now after primary meristem we talk about secondary meristem. Now the secondary meristem are present from the beginning of the formation. They are not present from beginning of the formation of organ. Beginning of the formation of organ of the plant. They develop in a later stage, but they give rise to secondary permanent tissue. They give rise to secondary permanent tissue. They give rise to secondary permanent tissue. And the example of, we can say, secondary permanent tissue are interfascicular cambium, cork cambium and cambium in dicot root. Okay, so I hope you understood that these are the meristem which are based on the origin and development. Promeristem give rise to primary meristem. They are found at apex. Below the apex you will find a primary meristem. Below the promeristem you will find a primary meristem, and primary meristem give rise to the what? Primary permanent tissue. But when we talk about the secondary meristem originate later on and they give rise to secondary permanent tissue. Now we are going to discuss this in detail. So now next we will classify on the basis of position, and that is important topic with respect to NCERT. Next again we talk about types of meristem. We are going to talk about types of meristem based on position. And here in this meristem we study three types of meristem: apical meristem, intercalary meristem and lateral meristem. So we will deal with each and type of meristem based on position one by one. We are going to start a type of meristem based on position, that is a apical meristem. So first we understand what do you mean by this apical meristem. This apical meristem are the cells or tissues. These are the apical meristem, means they have a meristematic tissue. They are found at apices or apex of stem and root. They are found at apex of stem and root. Because of this they are named as apical meristem. Now they help root and shoot to increase in length. Means the length of root and shoot increase, that is due to the particularly apical meristem. Means the important role of apical meristem to help plants, it help plants to grow in length. Means if the length of plant is increasing, for the increasing length of the plant, the tissue which is responsible, that is apical meristem, which is present at the apex of root and stem. Now second type we discuss based on location, that is intercalary meristem. Okay, when we talk about this intercalary meristem tissue are intercalated between permanent tissue. They are intercalated or present between permanent tissues. They are intercalated between permanent tissues. So they are actually a part of apical meristem which gets separated from it. Means what? Suppose this is the particular diagram of a plant. Okay, initial primordium. Here you will find a apical meristem. So this is apical meristem. Now here in this all part you will find a permanent or mature tissue. These all are permanent or mature tissue. And between them, if suppose any meristematic cells are located or meristematic tissue is located, then this is known as intercalary meristem, as it is particularly located between the permanent tissue. Now if we talk about this intercalary meristem in detail, then it is example is the stem of grasses and equisetum. Example if we take, then they are the stem of grasses where you intercalary meristem you will find, and the equisetum. This intercalary meristem, what is the role of this intercalary meristem? So what do you specifically you find this in grazing herbivores. Now grazing herbivores, what they do when they eat grasses, they eat the tip or leaves of this tip part of the leaves of grasses. Now if they remove the tip or remove the tip from the grasses, means apical meristem is lost. So now they should not be able, they grow and they again form a leaves in a complete manner. Why? Because some cells are left behind and they are known as intercalarization. So it helps the grasses to regenerate plant parts removed by grazing herbivores. Whatever the part grazing herbivores eaten, that can be regenerated by this particular intercalary meristem. Third type is lateral meristem. This lateral meristem are present along the lateral side of stem, and root. They are present on the lateral side. They are present sidewise. Okay. Now they give rise to secondary permanent tissue. Secondary permanent tissue. Now secondary permanent tissue are nothing but they are xylem and phloem. So this secondary permanent tissue, that is xylem and phloem, derived from the lateral meristem, and the type of that lateral meristem are intrafascicular vascular cambium, then interfascicular vascular cambium, and cork cambium. So this all particularly give rise to the secondary permanent tissue. Now apart from this xylem and phloem, secondary cortex and cork are also particular secondary permanent tissue that are derived by the cork cambium, that we will study later on in this part. Now you understand just the meaning of lateral part. They are located laterally, they helping a plant to grow in a girth. As well, the primary meristem help in a what particular growth in a lengthwise, and the secondary meristem help in the particularly girthwise growth. Now apical meristem and intercalary meristem also help in a grow in a lengthwise manner, whereas lateral meristem help to grow in a lateral side growth. So it indicates that apical and intercalary meristem are type of primary meristem. So if we make a table with respect to this, that is of lateral meristem with respect to specifically for this lateral meristem, if we make this particular one table, then we find that one is intrafascicular cambium, second is interfascicular cambium, and third is cork cambium. Now if we locate them, then with respect to origin, if we see, then intrafascicular cambium is primary in origin, whereas intrafascicular cambium and core cambium are secondary in origin. But when we talk with respect to location, all these three, intrafascicular, intrafascicular and core cambium, are secondary meristem. They are secondary meristem. So we remember this is the important part with respect to types of meristem. Okay, so we have understood what are meristematic tissues, which are in helping plant to grow lengthwise and girthwise. Next, one more type of meristem we study, and that is based on function. Based on function, we study another three types of meristem. In this first, we are going to study protoderm. Protoderm is also a meristem. Then after protoderm, there is a procambium. And then a third type is that is known as ground meristem. Now, with respect to function, if we study about the promeristem, it is known that it is an outer meristematic cell, and they form skin or epidermis of the plant. They form epidermis of plant or epidermal tissue system. Whereas when we talk about the procambium, this procambium is innermost meristematic cell, and it form primary xylem, primary phloem. It form primary xylem, primary phloem and cambium. Whereas if you talk about a third one, that is a ground meristem, they form a ground or fundamental tissue. They form ground or fundamental tissue, which are present between this epidermal tissue system and primary xylem or vascular tissue system, that is the fundamental or ground tissue system. And these tissues are like hypodermis, cortex, pith and pericycle. So that is formed by the ground meristem. So be remember, these are the three type of meristem. Based on what? Based on function. One is giving epidermal tissue, another is giving particular vascular tissue, that is a xylem phloem and cambium, and another one that is a forming a tissues which are present in between, that is a ground meristem. So till now we have studied the types of meristematic tissue or types of meristem, where meristem are located, that is apical, lateral, intercalary, primary, secondary, all this, how they help lengthwise growth, girthwise growth, that all we have discussed. And in apical meristem we have studied that specifically these are present at the apex. Now, so there is a shoot apex and root apex. So here we study next topic, that is shoot apex organization. Shoot apex organization. Now when we draw the diagram of this shoot apex organization, it looks something like this. So this is how apex is organized, and in this apex you will find some of the tissue like this. Okay, like this, there is some tissue are present, and you will see such type of arrangement. Now in this, if we label it, this is known as leaf primordium. It is known as leaf primordium, which is going to form a leaf. Inner to that, here you will see this structure, and that structure is known as a shoot apical meristem. It is known as shoot apical meristem, which is present at shoot apex. So it is a apical meristem. Inner to that you will find some of this axillary bud, and then you will find these are the differentiating vascular tissue, means vascular tissue are forming here. So such a way the whole particularly shoot apex is organized. So it is a shoot apex organization. Now here we listen one term, axillary bud. So we remember how this axillary bud form. So some of the particular cells left behind from shoot apical meristem, and they form this axillary bud. So we remember axillary bud is formed by some cells left behind from shoot apical meristem. From the shoot apical meristem, if some cells left behind, they will be termed as axillary bud. And this axillary bud is present at axil, and this particular axil where this axillary bud is present. Now you know that axil is, this axil means it is a angle between, it is an angle between young stem and leaf. Suppose this is the stem, and here if leaf is arised or petiole is there, then this is the younger stem, this is the older stem, because growth is occurring like this, then this angle is known as axil. Okay, so when a particular bud which is present in axil, that is known as axillary bud. So now we have studied shoot apex organization. So this shoot apex organization developed by the discovery of several scientists. And when several scientists studied this shoot apex, they have given different theories. So now we are going to talk about theories explained for the shoot apex organization. So next we talk about theories of shoot apex organization. Now when we talk about theories of shoot apex organization, first theory which we discuss, that is apical cell theory. This apical cell theory is proposed by Hofmeister and Nagel. According to this theory, Hofmeister and Nagel said that single apical cell lead to the development of of entire plant body. Means single cell has a capacity to form whole plant body, entire plant body. And this theory is applicable to algae, most of the bryophyte, and pteridophyte. So it is applicable to this bryophyte, algae and pteridophyte, not to a gymnosperm and angiosperm according to the Hofmeister and Nageli. But in this cell they are seeking just common generalization that single cell divide and form a whole plant body. But everyone was not satisfied with this theory, so later on another theory came into the consideration, that is a histogen theory. So next is histogen theory. Histogen theory was proposed by Einstein. And this theory says that shoot apex consists of histogen, that consists of histogens. And here they said that shoot apex have 3 histogen. What they have said? Shoot apex that have a 3 histogen. So if we make a diagram of this histogen, it looks something like this. So here 3 histogen was observed. These are young leaves. They are young leaf. Now when we see another layers, this layer is known as dermatogen. Okay. Then this another layer of cells, it is known as periblam, and this is the innermost layer which is known as plerome. Now in this you can say this dermatogen is adding a cell side by. Okay, here also they are adding a cells, and here also some cells are being added. So these 3 layers are there: dermatogen, which is the outermost, second is periblam, this is the middle one, and the third one is the plerome, that is the innermost. Now these 3 layers, 3 histogen give rise to whole plant body. So now we have to discuss that which layer or which histogen give rise to what. So when we study this, it comes into a knowledge that dermatogen is the outermost layer. It is the outermost layer, so it forms epidermal tissue system, or we can say it form a epidermis or a skin. Okay, those, that is the first one, dermatogen. Second is periblam, and periblam give rise to tissue present between epidermis and stele. Now stele means all the tissues present inner to endodermis. All the tissue present inner to endodermis are known as stele. So means we can say between the endodermis and epidermis whatever is present, that is periblam, means periblam give rise to cortex and endodermis, because outermost is epidermis, inner to that you will find a cortex, and inner to cortex you will find endodermis, and inner to endodermis you will find this particular stele. So endodermis and cortex are obtained from or arise from the periblam. And the third is plerome. This plerome is the innermost layer, as we have seen in diagram, and this forms central mass of a cell which give rise to central stele. It is a central mass of cell which form central stele. Okay, so these are the three layers which are forming a particular whole plant body, and it is a histogen theory. Third theory of shoot apex organization is tunica corpus theory. This tunica corpus theory proposed by Smith in 1924, and this theory is based on plane of division of a cells. So it is based on the plane of division. Now this plane of division are of two type. This plane of division are of two type, that is periclinal and anticlinal. Periclinal division is parallel to periphery, and anticlinal division is perpendicular to periphery. So if this is a layer of cells, okay, these are the cells. Okay, we have formed this layer. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, this type of cells are there, and this is the periphery. Okay, so if a division occur parallel to periphery means like this. If cells are dividing like this, so if cells divide parallel to periphery, what will happen? Cell will be added to the inner side as well as outer side. But when we talk about the another thing, that is anticlinal division, suppose these are the cells, okay, and anticlinal, that is this is a periphery, means this perpendicular to periphery means this way. So this division add cells sidewise or in a layer. So anticlinal division is perpendicular to periphery, means it is not forming a layers, it is adding the cells within the existing layers, whereas periclinal form a different separate layers. So based on this tunica corpus theory is given. Now we understand what is this theory. So according to this theory, they are saying that there are two layers, two layers that are corpus and tunica, and the diagram of this is become like this. Okay, so this is the tunica and this is corpus. Now tunica is mostly single layered. Now what are the points? Tunica is mostly single layered and this tunica form epidermis. But this tunica show anticlinal division only and form epidermis. It form epidermis and it show anticlinal division only. Whereas when we talk about corpus, corpus represent a central cone with the larger cells. Okay, this tunica have a smaller cells, that also you remember. This corpus have a larger cells. And when we talk about corpus, it represent a central core. It divide by both, show both anticlinal and periclinal division. Okay, and when it show both anticlinal and periclinal division, it forms the particularly whole body inner to the epidermis. So now this tunica show anticlinal means it is adding a cell sidewise, so it can be shown like this, and corpus show division in all planes, so the diagram can be shown. This shows anticlinal and periclinal division. So this is all about the different theories which this form a central body. So these are the all theories for the shoot apex organization. Now onwards we will study the root apex organization and their theories. So next is root apex organization. Now when we study root apex organization, we should draw the particular diagram which represent a root apex. Okay, so it will look like this. Now in this diagram, if we study, there are several layers this is root apical meristem. This is root apex. Here you will see this part, that is a part of initial of central cell, initial of caproot. Initial of caproot. Okay, then inner to the initial of caproot you will find the initial of central cylinder. Okay, and cortex. Then we see the particular layer, that is a protoderm. We see a protoderm. Okay, then we talk about a cortex, and at last you find a central cylinder. This way you will find, okay, the particular arrangement of a whole root apex. Okay, now when we talk about a root apex, this root apex has meristematic cells. It has meristematic cells, and this root apex is not responsible for formation of lateral root. It is not responsible for the formation of lateral root. Okay. Now when we talk about root cap, it is present due to which root meristem become subterminal in position and and apical meristem get protected. Now root cap is independent in origin. Root cap is independent in origin and it arises from calyptrogen. Okay, it arises from the calyptrogen. So after studying root apex organization, now we talk about the theories regarding the root apex organization. So next is theories of root apex organization. Now when we talk about a theories of root apex organization, first theory which we discussed, that is Korper-Kappa theory. Which one? Korper-Kappa theory. This Korper-Kappa theory proposed by Scoop in 1917, and according to this root apex theory, it is said that it is comparable to, this theory is comparable to tunica corpus theory of shoot apex organization. So it is compared to that, and here it is believed that it is also based on plane of division. Okay, where Korper means body and Kappa means cap. Means this Korper is related to corpus of shoot apex organization and Kappa is related to tunica of shoot apex. Okay, like this they are related and they give rise to the whole plant. So it is a Korper-Kappa theory proposed by the Scoop. Next to that we talk about a quiescent center theory. So next is quiescent center theory. Quiescent center theory was proposed by Claus in 1956 to 58 in Maze. What Claus said? He said that in a root apex part you will find a root cap, inner to root cap you will find a root apical meristem, and below to this root apical meristem there is a presence of one inverted cap like structure that is known as quiescent center. So quiescent center is present below or behind the root apical meristem. Now this quiescent center, if we talk about, it has This question center consists of very low mitotically active cells. Very low mitotically active cells. This question center has low amount of RNA, DNA and protein. They have low amount of RNA, DNA and protein. And this question center divide only when root apex get injured. So when root apex get injured, this question center will divide and help in the growth of this particular root. So this is all are the root apex organizations. So dear students, till now in this lecture we have discussed the meristematic tissue and then types of meristems, types of meristematic tissue, and their different theories which are related to the root apex and shoot apex organization. That all is over. So this is in this lecture. Now from next lecture we will start with a permanent tissue. But students, please remember that while studying this lecture series, please make note, please remember each and every point. Wherever you feel that we have to understand it one more time, then repeat it, particularly stop this and rewind this and understand again, and particularly go with this lecture series as the lectures are going to be uploaded. Okay, so thank you. We will in next lecture we will study about the permanent tissue.